The nation's largest police department, the NYPD, now launching a new unit designed to revolutionize how it approaches survivors of gender-based violence. CBS News got a first exclusive look inside the gender-based violence policy and training facility. Officials telling us it is designed to encourage the reporting of sexual assault, domestic violence, and child abuse. Senior coordinating producer of our CBS News Crime and Public Safety Unit, Anna Schecter, has more.
So if I'm a survivor, this is the entrance that I walk through?
Yes.
The New York City Police Department is revolutionizing how it tackles one of the most common crimes around.
Yeah, so this is where you would first be greeted when you walk in if you're a survivor.
Kathleen Baer is the NYPD's first ever Assistant Commissioner for Gender-Based Violence Policy and Planning. When you're saying it's survivor first, what does that mean? What does that look like in practice?
So what it looks like is when we have a survivor come in to report a crime of sexual violence or a crime of domestic violence, they may have family court issues, they may have immigration issues, they may need counseling, they may need food. The most basic things.
The detectives sit here. There are dozens of them. They're solely focused on these kinds of cases. This is really the first of its kind unit focused on gender-based violence planning and policy and training.
When I was talking about trauma-informed spaces, they're just really calming, they're beautiful rooms, and these are the types of rooms that we want to have survivors interviewed in when they come into a special victims squad.
So we've toured this area. We've seen where the victims, where the survivors are. Safe Horizons is there, a representative of the DA is there, but also in this very facility, there are perpetrators of these crimes being interviewed, interrogated. So tell me about that.
Yes, that's correct. So in the back portion of the facility, after an offender is placed under arrest, they're going to be brought here, and the investigators are going to attempt to interview or interrogate them here.
Do you see an overlap with perpetrators of this kind of violence and other violent crimes or other types of crimes?
Oh, absolutely. We see an overlap with gun violence, we see an overlap with physical violence, we see an overlap with gang violence.
So this unit will actually help the NYPD apprehend the perpetrators of broader violent crime.
Absolutely.
And Anna Schecter joins me now with more on this story. So, Anna, good to see you here. The commissioner noted in your piece that this facility is designed for spaces to be inclusive to both survivors, to be able to feel safe enough to report, and for perpetrators to be questioned there. So can you talk about how officers are being trained to handle these kinds of situations that, of course, are going to be so sensitive?
Well, sure. Well, you saw where survivors walk in, but then there's a back door where detectives, they go out and make arrests and bring them. There's a cell downstairs, a holding cell where people are interrogated. What can happen with these cases is maybe someone reports if they feel comfortable enough, and then it can just slip through the cracks. If they there's just hasn't always been around the country like a push to solve these crimes and really investigate them thoroughly. So when she's talking about training, it's both the detectives now have the resources to really go after these and dig into get the evidence that they need to give to a district attorney to prosecute these crimes. But then they also connect these survivors with all these other resources under one roof. So you have Safe Horizons, which is a nonprofit that for decades has provided support, but it's actually inside the NYPD building. So it's like one stop, you can have all of these needs met. And that is really, I've covered these crimes for years. That is truly revolutionary, and they want this to be a model for the rest of the country.
And I wonder why it's important that these types of violent crimes have a different approach than non-gender-based crimes.
Well, it's a good question. So when someone is an abuser, a domestic abuser, or carries out a sexual assault, or even is involved in abusing a child, there often can be a nexus with other crimes, illegal firearms, gang activity, all kinds of other things. And so actually what they're doing is very smart. By prioritizing the gender-based violence, it's kind of opening up the investigative lens to dig into other crimes that those perpetrators have carried out, making the streets safer because they're able to prosecute those other crimes
Right.
too. So often, gender-based violence, it's just politically like it's not the top on the list because it's so common. And NYPD's Commissioner Jessica Tisch has made this a top priority. So it's really interesting to see what this department is doing. This is the biggest department in the country, as you noted, and they are a leader in a lot of things like technology. So this could really change the game and actually help victims of this kind of violence have their cases addressed, solved, and then the perpetrators of those crimes be held accountable.
Okay, really fascinating stuff. Thank you so much, Anna. Appreciate it.